So I paid 3 strangers on Fiverr to render my architectural project.
I love that.
That is only one of the 3 images that we paid for.
It's a little dramatic.
All artists will be given the same model, same brief, and same requirement. However, each artist will be paid differently. So one was $60, the other was $95, and the last most premium one was at $150. This video will give you a realistic look on hiring Fiverr artists because today we're going to find out exactly how much should you pay for a 3D rendering. I'm using a project from my undergrad. It was an urban project and a skyscraper design, so you can imagine the workload. But I was really proud of the images back then because I had just discovered 3D rendering and these images were a massive step forward for me. However, I was kind of disappointed in the tower perspective because of the angle. I couldn't get the line straight or the lighting right, so it wasn't the hero shot that I wanted. So I'm hoping that these Fiverr artists can make my dream come true of finally seeing my tower in all of its glory. So these artists that we're about to hire do this as their job or a side hustle at least. So I'm excited to see the results. Before I hired the artist, I had to make sure that the files and the brief were ready. So for example, the model was way too big and complex and I thought that people might overcharge, and also there were some things that needed some work. So I cleaned the model and made sure that everything was organized in layers and groups so that the artists don't have a hard time understanding the model. Now as for the brief, I paid attention to the elements that make a good image and I wrote those down on a Word document. They are there more as a guideline and information as I wanted to see how the artist will add their own touch to the image. However, one thing that was really important to me was the greenery, because I spent so much time designing green spaces, balconies, terraces, and rooftop gardens that I really wanted to be showcased in the final image. I also included a suggested scene and a section so they had an idea of the function of the floors for any interior details. So with the files being ready, let's hire the talent. On the Fiverr website, I spent a bit of time searching for the gigs that I thought fit my requirement. I also wanted artists that didn't feel generic and had experience with rendering urban or large-scale projects. There are pretty much endless options here, like from rising stars to Fiverr choices, and I tried to find people with good star rating, a good portfolio, and a good value for money. So after a bit of time, I settled on these 3 gigs. I contacted all of the sellers before I bought the gigs, just to make sure that they're available, they feel confident and comfortable with the project. And also I have a large building, so a custom offer made more sense. So the first gig at $60 was this one by Billy Render. I was so intrigued by his profile, his reviews, and especially his images. It also seems that he has an exceptional number of repeat buyers, which was a good sign for me. Now the second gig was at $95. It was this one by Johan. Some of the images were not really my style, but I could still appreciate the realism and the detail. And I liked how in his packages he had everything included, because some sellers, for example, will only render environment and not include furniture or people. And he also had a 5-star rating with many positive reviews. Now the third one was at $150. It was this one by Inerti Studio. And I was so excited for this gig because I had never hired a 3D visualization studio before, so I expected a lot from them. They don't have a lot of reviews compared to other sellers, but I fell in love with the quality of their images. So the images are here. I haven't had a chance to review them in detail just yet, so we're gonna do that right now. So are we ready for the $60 render? First of all, I gotta say how impressed I am for a $60 service. This guy was the first one to deliver amongst all of them. Now Billy literally just asked, so how should I do the context building? And I sent him this image and he was like, sure, no problem. For reference, let's look at the context that I sent him. So he added the signs, the traffic lights, the tram, the cables. He did a fantastic job of placing my model in its context and bringing my design to life. He really paid attention to the brief that I sent, and the building looks great. Truthfully, my design had a ceiling to this floor, but I kind of like what he did, and if I could, I'd change my rooftop design to this. Now if I zoom in, there are some things that I wasn't a fan of, but it doesn't affect the image a lot. So for example here, the trees could have been masked better. They could have introduced another vegetation element because it seems repetitive. In this case as well, and here, this brick texture is high quality, but this one here looks like the original one from the SketchUp file. The shadows are a little inconsistent, so some are painted and some are in different directions. But overall, when you zoom out and you look at the image as a whole, it's still successful and I'm beyond happy with the result. So are we ready for the 95 render? Okay, so just at first glance, I can definitely see some upgrades. I love the greenery in the balconies and the green spaces. I almost prefer these to Billy's render because they feel more organic and less repetitive. I like how you can see the interior details. This logo here is a little copy and paste, but nonetheless it looks great. But now I kind of wish he took a similar approach to the rooftop garden that Billy did, because man, that would have looked incredible. So when I zoom out, there are a few things that let this image down. For starters, the composition. It looks like it was cropped from the side, giving it an unusual proportion. Also, the people are just standing, I don't know, they kind of look weird and creepy. But maybe I'm just being picky. But I guess there wouldn't be a video if I didn't tell you exactly what I think. Also, the materials and contacts, they aren't accurate, which is disappointing. This also was the image that took the longest, so he was 6 days late. But I did apologize and I did need the image urgently anyways. But it is something to keep in mind that when you're hiring 3D artists, you should always allow enough days for revisions and delays. But again, it's just extra comments and I'm overall pleased with the image. So now let's move on to the premium image. Are you excited? At $150, this is the image. Now let's talk about all of the things that the studio did right. So first, I really like the sky. I prefer this one to Johan's render. I also like the glass. Even though you can't see the interior, it's not too reflective and the shade matches the sky. And for me, I think that's nice because the building almost blends with the sky, which is a cool concept for skyscraper designs. I also really like the models, the textures, they look high quality and realistic. For me, what lets this image down is the context and greenery. I know I said I wanted an emphasis on greenery, but it's a little dramatic. This section here of the image is what I don't like. The buildings are blurry, they're not accurate. The buildings here at the back, they look off. I'm sorry, but it just feels like this section on the left is made by a different person. It just doesn't reflect how realistic and how good the overall image is. However, I do think the image has a lot of great aspects and very minor corrections would fix this image so easily, so thank you Energy Studio. So after seeing all of the images and their price points, what did you think about them? Would you hire these services? Also, did you think that the price was fair? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, I would definitely hire Billy again considering the price point, the image, and his attention to detail. It just shows that there are professionals on the Fiverr platform that may not charge a lot, but they are professional nonetheless. So if you're interested in using Fiverr, remember that you can also get affordable deals for you or for your business. So if you are ready to transform your architectural vision into reality, click the link in the description box and use this promo code. Thanks again to Fiverr for sponsoring today's video. I'm Rasha Sharudo and I will see you next time.